Let me bring in another expert on the subject, Dr. Atul Rane, joining us from MD and CEO BrahMos Aerospace. Good evening to you, Dr. Rane. Now the world has clearly acknowledged what India did in, basically to make Pakistan capitulate and seek out a cessation of military action, really. And that's what had happened because when the DGMOs talked, it was initiated by Pakistan's DGMO. And what do you make of how it's all coming out, and this narrative that have been spun by Pakistan and its henchmen and hench countries, really, is being unraveled?
Well, the first thing is hats off to the men behind the machines which we may have created and tried to do, but it's the planning, the utter precise planning which they did, the Indian Armed Forces, Army, Air Force, and Navy. It's them who have actually proven to the world our might.
And the truth has been revealed with the strength of technology as well, and by credible people, independent experts who know what they're talking about, and they're backing it up with the data. So the truth, no matter how much obfuscation is done, how much of spin doctoring is done by people in Pakistan who have been experts at it for decades, it is still emerging, rising like cream to the top.
You see, when there is a conflict on, not much of information comes out while it's on, and all of us knew that weapons are being used, and what is their efficacy was known only little later on, maybe a day or two later on, when we saw that the cessation of firing took place, the cessation took place, and then even if we had tried to spin stories, that is India, they were true stories that we did use our weapons and we did use them efficiently. When we have now third party people saying it, the other countries and experts from other places saying that you have done well, that's courage to all of us. Now, why do during a warfare or during a conflict or during any sort of a attrition, it's the idea is to keep the people, the public, happy that yes, we're on the top. And maybe that's why our opponents try to spin all those stories. And slowly, one by one, each one of them is turning out to be false. The briefings done by our Indian Armed Forces, by the DGMOs and the Air Force and Navy, they were precise in what they did, and they were also fairly clear on what happened.
And how much of a satisfaction does it give you yourself, being part of an organization such as BrahMos Aerospace, that a lot of what has been achieved during Operation Sindoor is based on homegrown weaponry, homegrown technology, and it has exposed chinks in the armor of weaponry supplied to Pakistan by, well, countries that are supposed to be pretty good at warfare themselves, including the US, even China, as well as Turkey.
I'll take your statement in two ways. Thank you for giving me a chance to try and explain. The whole basis for our technology growth was laid long back during the time of the Integrated Guided Missile Development Program, which grew into many other smaller offshoot projects. And it is those seniors who conceived IGMDP, the workhorses of around my age group who worked through the whole years, even when technology was denied to us, mind you. And to see that the weapons we used, we created, are used with precision is something which is satisfying. It's very rare for a single human being to see the design, development, production, induction, and use of the weapon system in his working or living lifetime. There are three generations who have been able to see that in this particular operation, and it is extremely satisfying. But first, I have to pay all my respects to the seniors who have trained us and brought us to the level which we could pay back to our juniors and try to train them up to where they are today.
Yes, and do you see,
Uh, come,
do you see a paradigm shift? I won't say happening. I would say unfolding, where funding could really go for defence R&D, and which will have offshoots of unimaginable really benefit, because you know, it was R&D in defence that gave the world the internet.
you see, within India, DRDO, organization which I've been part of for many years, of course, I've just superannuated. We have been the whipping boys of the media. I'll use the press and media. Whenever there is not much of news going around, pick up DRDO's projects and say they're delayed, they're cost overruns, and they're not up to the mark. I think with Operation Sindoor and our users, the masterminds who actually use them, they have at least brought us back into the limelight. And funding, well, every year we look for more and more funding. Funding needs to be spread across various sectors of the country. Defense will always have a part of the funding, but mind you, the defense funding in our country is minimally low with respect to the percentage of GDP when you compare to the other nations. Uh, we're happy. We could be happier with more, but you see, whenever there is a pressure on one aspect, that is the funding, maybe our creativity increases in how to manage things with the lower funding. But
Okay.
it's a catch-22 situation. More funding, more things. But mind you, one other thing which has happened is with all this, the defense industry has also stepped up, and they are now getting into the realm of creating weapons on their own also. Maybe
Yes, yes.
there's a lot of work being done.
That is the course that has to be taken, because the future of warfare is changing every moment because of the kind of influence that technology is bringing to it. Pretty soon it will all be about AI, ML, as well as robotics, and you might not need a lot of those platforms that are still being pursued by our country, or we'll need refined versions of those. One of them being AMK, which is AMCA, which is now being really pressed forth in terms of an execution model. A fifth generation aircraft
Yes.
will be great to have, but let's see what our scientists and our private industry, also defense industry, comes up with, because it needs to be ahead of its times, otherwise it will fall behind again. Thank you so much for joining us for the moment.